Hey guys, it's Mark with Spiguyver Backpacking. Thanks for joining me. I'm sitting out here on my back patio tonight so that I can put together a video showing you guys my ultralight cook kits and how I compare different pieces together to either give me the lightest load I need for just a solo overnight trip, or something I could use to go backpacking and do some dry baking, or if I've got some meals I need to prepare and I need multiple cooking options, I've got that as well. So I'm going to show you guys some of my options, some of what I would use, give you guys the weights that go along with it, and point you to either where you can buy these pieces or how you can make them yourselves, because many of these I've actually made myself, and I've got tutorials on my YouTube channel here that you guys can go check out and learn how to do it yourself. So let's get started with some of this kit. So some of the things we're going to talk about tonight are pots, stoves, all of them will be alcohol stoves, and windscreens, and the different types that I use, the different types that you can use, where you can get them, and what they do for you. So let's take a look. All right, so spread out here in front of me, I've got my scale, which I've weighed almost everything here on the table on. And then I've got just an array of stoves, different pieces that I use, my pots that are over here. And so I wanted to kind of go through these and just talk about what I've got and some different options that you can come up with to really suit what you're doing out there. So let's move a little bit out of the way so I can start putting some stuff in the center and we can talk about it and talk about the weight of it. So when it comes to choosing a pot, you have to weigh what it is you're going to be cooking, how you're going to be doing it, and really what type of cooking you do in the backcountry. So if you are just boiling water, all you have to do is figure out how big a meal you're cooking, how much water it takes to rehydrate it, and then get a pot that fits that amount of water. So if you're doing 12 ounces, a 12-ounce pot from Batchstovez is going to serve you well. If you're going to be doing 2 cups, something like this 10 cm from Batchstovez is a little bit better for you. And then you can get these with different options. So Batchstovez, they've got these anodized aluminum pots. This one's got some black on it from when I tested out the Tato Gear Element Titanium wood burning stove. It's just kind of over there on there. It's like a little patina now. This one hasn't been on a wood stove, so it's still nice and clean. But he makes these, and you can get them with different options. So you can get the wide silicone band for picking it up off the fire, or you can get the fiberglass wicking and then another band so that if you wanted to drink out of this, you could drink out of it without burning your lip. For this one, I also, to keep from burning my lip, I've got the Snow Peak hot lips that'll fit right on there, just like it will on a Toaks or a Snow Peak, like it was designed for. So let's talk about this one to begin with. So this is the 12-ounce Batchstovez pot, and this one weighs in at 78, well, just under 77.8 with the lid and 62.3 grams without the lid. So a nice lightweight solo pot for you. Now on those trips where you need to boil a little bit more water, or you may be cooking up, if you want to do your ramen in a pot, if you're taking ramen or something, you're not going to do it in a 12-ounce. But in this one, you could. So this one here is the Batchstovez 10 cm. He also has the 12 cm, and these are very close to what the Imusa 10 and 12 cm pots are. So this one is 111.6 grams with the lid, 88.6 without the lid. So it gives you a good idea of what you could get there. Now these are aluminum, so they do get dents in them, and if they get dents in them, just fold them back. I've had times where the lid is a little bit off, and I just reform it, goes back to normal, no big deal. So those are some options that you can buy. Now moving on to something else that you can buy off of a website, but is a little bit lighter weight, you can go to the MiniBull Design. This is the Questionable Mental Health. So this one is a 10 to 12 ounce pot. It is made from a Foster's can, and then it has the ring installed. So unlike the Foster's cans that I do, the Foster's pots that I make, this one, instead of it using still the lid or the rim of the beer can. This one, it's been cut off flat, and then a ring has been put in there, and it does add quite a bit more rigidity than mine. Just saying that. So this one, the MiniBull QMH, is alone it's 44.7. With the lid, we are at 58.2. However, I have been making my own lids for some of these, like you've seen on my personal one that I made. So I could go from this lid, which together this is, what did I say, 58.2. If I switch out the lid and go with my Coke can lid, which I've made so that it actually fits in there nicely, actually won't pop off, but when you want to get it off, it does come off pretty nicely. So with this lid, it gets the weight down to 46.5 grams. So it cuts off quite a bit by taking off this lid and going to this one. So moving on to my homemade one. So it's got two little of the silicone bands on it, one for kind of grabbing it and one for taking a drink out of it. I've got because it is a smaller diameter, I can't use the same one that I used off of the others. It won't fit. So I made myself a new one that fits on there nicely, comes off easily. So this one is 27.6 grams like this, and 29.2 with the lid that I made for it. So that's an option that you've got. Now, another option that's out there that a lot of people like to use is Toaks. So again, like the QMH, like my Batchstovez, it's got the same diameter top, so all of these lids will work for it, including a homemade soda can lid, saving quite a bit of weight. So this one here, it's a little bit heavier, but it's titanium. It has the handles, which is nice. Has that little cutout in the bottom where you can put the third finger in it and hold it. This one here is 75.1. My lid adds another 1.7 grams. So not a bad deal. This is actually what my kids take when they go out because they like to have the handles. They don't like to have to worry about burning their fingers. So that's what I take. Different options for different times. Stoves are a pretty personal choice as well. Once you've got your pot figured out, a lot of times it's nice at that point to pair it with a stove. Or if you have a stove you really like and you prefer taking out, you may want to pair it with the correct pot. Because some stoves, such as this one, don't do great with this size pot. Or this Spiguyver stove doesn't do great with this pot. Now, I do multiple heights for my Spiguyver stoves for a reason. So this is the just over a quarter, verging on 3/8. This one's a 1/2 inch, and the 1/2 inch works great with this stove, with this pot, because it still allows a good bloom to come up and hit around the bottom of this. Because of the domed bottom of this, it sits down on there, and it really reduces the effective height of the Spiguyver stove. So when you put it on there, you can see it almost is at the rim there. So you have to pay attention to the size of the pot, whether or not it's got a domed or a flat bottom, and then you can pick out what works best. Something like this Brasslite stove. Now this one's nice because it has the variable flame, so you can have this one to do simmering or boiling, but it is heavy. This used to be one of my favorite backpacking stoves, but at 76 grams, it's tipping the scale higher than a lot of the full cook kits that I'm looking at this point. So this one's not a bad stove. It's a reliable stove, but it's not what I take with me. MiniBull Designs creates some that have the fiberglass wicking on them. So does Batchstovez, and this makes it good for cold weather. So in cold weather, alcohol doesn't like to start. So with this wicking, you can put some fuel on this wicking and then light it, and it works to prime it, heat up the inside until you get it going. And sometimes if it's really cold out, you may have to do it once or twice after the initial one to get it going again. But this is the MiniBull Designs Elite Stove. This one is 12.5 grams. So you guys know I've been making the Spiguyver stoves and I really like them. Difference between these two, 5.6 grams, 5.7 grams. So not a big difference in weight to get the extra height there, but the height is necessary for the different pots that I use. So I was messing around. I know that a lot of people really love their SuperCat stoves. So I was messing around with the 6.5 ounce Starbucks can and the 7.5 ounce little soda can, and did a little version of the SuperCat stove, and they work pretty well. But I did find out that this one is too big for a small pot like this one. The flames just come out too big out along the side, and you waste a lot. So the smaller one out of the Starbucks can works a lot better. Now this one works pretty well for the 10 cm pot. And these ones are 3.8 and 4 grams. So lightweight options, about the lightest one out there. 3.8 grams for this little guy here. No additional parts here. It's just the bottom of a Starbucks can with holes punched in it. Very easy. Now, probably one of the more popular types of stoves out there, a lot of people like them, a lot of people use them, are the Fancy Feast stoves. So I made a couple of different versions. So the initial one I made was with the 7.5 ounce soda can stove with a piece of the Starbucks can inside and carbon felt in there. This one is 8 grams, does pretty well. This one here is 1 gram lighter at 7 grams, and it is made from a 6.5 ounce Starbucks can with another Starbucks can wound up and then tabbed, cut and tabbed over to hold it in. The problem that I have with these two stoves is that you have to put enough fuel in there to really wet that carbon felt before it'll start. That's the only downside to these. These are great performers in cold weather as well. So that's something else to keep in mind. The choke hazard. This is MiniBull Designs. This is the only remote feed stove that I've got. So this one has two pieces, the burner and the reservoir, and then it has the silicone tube that goes from one piece to the other. And so you put them together like this. You know, I'm not going to put it all the way together right now. And then you fuel one side, it flows down through and burns. This one's really nice for doing dry baking. It'll burn for quite a long time, and because it's remote feed, you can keep it burning as long as you have fuel to keep putting in here. So good option for doing something like that. And you know, if you are doing a bug out bag and you want something that is lightweight and pretty sturdy, because of the way this thing packs up together, you know, it is a pretty sturdy little dude. You're not going to damage this one too easily. And nice and light. It is 17 grams. But the problem with this one, unlike any of the other stoves I showed you, is that you need to have a pot stand to go around it to set your pot on, because you cannot set the pot on this. So that's going to add another 11 grams. So 28 grams for this setup. But it's pretty small, pretty convenient. So, like I was starting to say, you've got a stove, you've got a pot, put them together. Your next enemy is going to be the wind. So, there are different options that you can use for blocking the wind. What I've been using a lot lately is the carbon felt. Now, the carbon felt works great. It is fire resistant, and it doesn't heat up. So, right here, with the flames going, I could grab it, pull it out of there. Never going to have a problem with it. I also use it with any of these other pots as a pot grabber. So you can come up and grab the pot, and it insulates it so that you're not getting burnt. It is a little bit heavier at about 12 to 14 grams depending on the length. I've got two of them here. They're slightly different length and slightly different height. And so 12 to 14 grams there. You can go with aluminum. It's really cheap everyone has aluminum. This one I think came from a baking dish. I think I cut the bottom of a baking pan out, so it's heavier duty aluminum. So this one could wrap around there, serve whatever purpose you need. But for this one's a little bit heavier. It's like 16.8 grams on that one. So I had bought, well, actually I had been given a titanium windscreen. The thing was huge. It was like this tall and this long. I think it came from AliExpress, and it had this little magnetic button lock thing on it, and I really liked it. So I cut it up and made it the size I need for most of my cooking. This one happens to be my lightest of all my options, and it weighs in at 6.8 grams. So 6.8 grams for a nice lightweight aluminum one with a little magnetic button on there that'll lock and keep it right around there. So these are the different options that I have. So let's pair a few of them together. So the question I'm sure someone's going to ask is, of all the stuff I've shown you, what is the lightest option you can possibly go with? And I believe what I have in front of me right here is the lightest option. So this is my homemade Foster's pot. This one is about 10 ounces, maybe 12 if you're lucky up to the top. I believe it was 10 ounces right to the rim inside. So that with my homemade lid made from one of the espresso cans. So I cut the espresso can down the middle, cut the top off, cut the bottom off, spread it flat, put it over here, lined it out, tapped it, made some marks, and made it so that it would fit down over that pretty well. For the stove, the lightest of the options I've shown is this little SuperCat cat can stove made out of the Starbucks, and then the titanium windscreen. So if we put this all together, let's roll these up, slides inside, you end up with a nice small package. I always carry mine right in the outside pocket, and I always throw a rubber band over it. So we'll throw a rubber band on and weigh this and see what we come up with. And we have 41.3 grams. If we take a look at that in ounces, that is 1.46 ounces. That, my friends, is an extremely light cook kit. So what about a cold weather option? So cold weather, you're going to want to go with one of these two stoves, and it depends. Maybe I'm going to be cooking more bigger meals, or I'm cooking for multiple people. So maybe I want my big cook pot, the bigger Fancy Feast. Again, because this one has the wicking on there, I can use this titanium windscreen. And right here we've got a good kit. Altogether is going to be 127.3 grams. So still nice and lightweight. What is that in ounces? That is 4.49 ounces. Not bad. Now, what if you wanted to do some baking while you were out there? So for this stove and for this stove, I have created simmer rings that go around it. They limit the amount of air getting to it and keep them cool. But this one was really designed to do dry baking. So we're going to need the pot stand. So we will need also a pot to put the baking stuff in it. So we're going to need this. We're also going to need a ring. I don't have a ring with me, so we'll take this, just throw it down in the bottom. This will set on it and it'll form, similar to a ring. Now this is another lid that I didn't talk about, but for something like this you can use this lid. However, this lid actually weighs quite a bit more. I believe this one's like 8. Yeah, this one's like 8 grams. So 8 grams versus this one, which is 1.2 grams. So back to our baking. So we've got 10 cm, 12 ounce. We really don't need the lid for this one, but I'm going to bring it anyway, just in case I want to cook up something to drink and I've got something going in here. So throw this in there. Like we said, that's 8 grams. way heavier than any ring I would normally carry. We will throw the choke hazard with its ring in there. And because we are doing the dry baking, I do want the carbon felt windscreen so that I can then pick up the very hot baking dish that's inside in order to shake it out. Put that back in there. And so now we've got this kit. Let's see what we've got as far as grams. Now this one's a little bit heavier, 237 grams, but this is to take you out and do some baking. So we're looking at 8.38 ounces. Not a heavy kit whatsoever. You know, still half a pound, and you're going to be out there baking. So you're talking about some muffins, heck, a cake, or one of those molten lava cakes, something like that. You can do that with this. So that's an option. I know a lot of people really like their titanium. So we've got the Titanium Toaks 450. Toaks has a new line that came out that's the Toaks Light, which is pretty awesome. So this is the 450. The 550 is a little bit closer to some of the bigger pots, and really it'll get you 2 cups of water. So you can do a little bit more. This one's going to run you a little bit short. This one's about 14 ounces is the most you can do with this 450. So a 550 is probably a better option for a solo if you sometimes do 2 cups of water. So they've got the Toaks Titanium, and then now they have a Toaks Light Titanium. Now the Toaks Titanium itself in the 550 is 80 grams, and then with the lid it's 100 grams. The 550 Toaks Light is a thinner 0.3 titanium material, closer to like an Evernew type. If you've ever felt those, they're pretty thin. But they come in at 54 grams, and then if you add the lid, it's 72 grams. So a whole lot lighter. So if we're looking at an option like this, I got to go with the Spiguyver. So titanium windscreen, Spiguyver stove, lid, titanium 450, and we have 88.9 grams. Looking at 3.14 ounces. So really good options. You've got lots of options here. As I've shown you, there are a lot of different options out there that you can go with for stoves and for your cook kits. Take a look around, see what works for you, figure out what size you need, try out building your own stoves, building your own cook sets. I think you'll take a little bit of pride in it if you've built it yourself. Now, there are a lot of great options out there. I know there's the debate between titanium and aluminum, and people are worried about aluminum leaching into the food or to the water that they're boiling. I've done the research, and that just doesn't seem to be the case. As long as it's anodized aluminum, which all of the Batchstovez stuff is, or it is coated aluminum, which all of the soda, beer can type things are. If you're not worried about the aluminum leaching into your soda, you're probably not going to be worried about it in your cook kits. But if you are, go with titanium. There's also the heat transfer issues, but you guys can look those up and figure them out for yourself. Figure out what you need, go get it, do it that way. Guys, I appreciate you checking in, hanging with me on this long video where we've gone through a lot of different cook kits, and I've shown you guys how I could pair them together to get an extremely lightweight or a very versatile setup for backpacking. Now, all of these are, as I've said before, ones I will take out with me in the field. If you like what I'm doing, please go down there, hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up like, send me a comment. Your support is what keeps this thing going and keeps driving me to produce more, better, more worthwhile content. Keep it up, guys. Keep sending me that feedback, showing me the love, and I've got it coming for you. So I'll see you guys down the trail. Thanks.